Crowhill here. Today we review an IPA and wonder, maybe we need two internets. Oh, hey, good to see you.
All right. Fancy meeting you here.
Yeah, good to see you. So how about some beer and conversation?
I think that's a great idea. What are we drinking?
Well, this is English IPA that's come from Guilford Brewing.
That sounds delicious. I do like an English IPA.
I know, yeah.
What's on your mind?
Well, I've been wondering recently about this problem of children's access to the internet.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if maybe we need two internets.
That's an interesting idea.
One for adults, one for children.
Well, let's see if we can work that out after I work my face around this beer.
So English IPA, it's an interesting style. What's different? I mean, there's like 15 sub-styles of IPA.
I know.
And so what's different about an English IPA?
I tell you what, I'm getting it right off the top. It's more hoppy smelling than I expect from an English IPA, but it's very grainy, very non-American. It's not fruity. It's not citrusy.
Right.
There's something dirty about that.
Yeah, the Fuggles. The Fuggles and the East Kent Goldings and that style. Yeah, that's what we're getting. And it's also pretty malty.
Hey.
And it does have that sort of bready, grainy sort of a malty flavor to it. So
yeah, bready. That's good.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good.
It is good. I love it. Yeah, Guilford Brewery. That's local here, right?
Yeah.
Born and brewed in Baltimore, Maryland. English IPA. Well done, boys.
Goodness, right? It's got the good color.
Yeah.
It's bordering on copperish.
Yeah.
And which means it's got plenty of malts. It's not all about the hops, and the hops it is about are English hops.
Are the right ones.
Yeah.
Are the right ones. Maybe a touch on the cloudy side. Mm-hmm. But delicious. Very, very good.
Well, wow, that's good.
Where's Guilford Hall? We need to go visit these guys.
Yes, it can't be far. I mean, there's a region of Baltimore that's called Guilford, but I don't know if that's...
They're on Guilford Avenue.
Well, there you have it.
Okay, there it is. 6.1%. Delicious.
I love it. And right in the sweet spot of
this is going to be getting up on the top of my list here.
I'm putting that there, yes. And Guilford, if you're out there listening...
I know, send us some more. Exactly. We'll give you...
Thank you very much.
That's right.
Two internets, you say?
Well, somehow or other...
Let's walk me through how this would work.
Okay, so somehow or other...
In principle, on board.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things that made me think about this. The first one is people 50 years from now are going to look back on us today the way we look back on, promoting cigarettes to everybody and,
It's like 12-year-olds smoking cigarettes and nobody cared.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it'd be like that kind of recklessness.
Or driving without seatbelts or all these other kinds of things we look back on and say, what were you thinking? Well, now people are going to look back on...
Castrating children.
Yes. People are going to look back on us and say, what were you doing giving kids these devices where they could access all this filth? I know. What in the world were you thinking?
Right.
So... Obviously, we're not thinking. Obviously,
we're new to this.
Yeah. We went down this road for a series of strange reasons. And the question is, how do we rein it back in? Now, Australia recently passed a bill. It doesn't take effect for a year. I don't know why they're so timid about these things.
Yeah.
But they passed
go ahead. This is...
Yeah, they passed a bill saying that they're going to restrict it to age 16 or above to be able to be on social media. And... that seems like it's a good start. It's a good, we got to get people thinking about this. John Haidt, the psychologist we talk about from time to time, is always talking about how dangerous social media is, especially for young girls.
All right, I have to show my ID to get to buy beer. Mm-hmm. One time I bought cigarettes at 7-Eleven, and I had to show an ID, and I was like, the gray beer doesn't help. Anyway, She took it and then swiped it underneath of something.
Oh, no, yeah.
And I'm like,
what's that
Wait
about?
A minute.
Yeah, I didn't say you could swipe my card.
I don't want to go on record.
Yeah.
So, same thing. You go to a liquor store.
Yeah.
They don't say, well, let's make sure that there's a database of your purchase of all your liquor.
Well, there is. There is if you go to Total Wine, there's a database of all your purchases.
Well, only if you're in the club.
Yes.
Yes, but so if you're so you go to the liquor store, they don't keep a permanent record. When you go online in this new Australian system,
Yeah.
are you registered as a above 16-year-old
Right.
to access this thing? And is there now? Of course, the internet itself is keeping track of
Yeah.
all of your activity. But have you now just given over all of your access to all of your the history of all of your activity
Yeah.
to the government in the
Yeah.
guise of saving the children or
Yeah.
whatever?
So a few things. One, I don't know if you remember, there was a time when Total Wine did ask to take your ID and they would scan it. And that lasted for like 2 weeks because everybody said, no way, I'm not letting you scan my ID so that the government has a record of how much booze I bought.
Oh, it's not going to go to the government. We're just going to keep it in here
of
in
course
house.
it's not. That's right, of course it's not. That never happens.
No.
So that was an interesting little experiment they had. I don't mind showing it to them so they can see my date of birth or something like that.
And I see what they punch in your date of birth.
Yes.
All right, so it's four letters,
Yeah.
Four numbers. I don't know why you need to do that, but
Right.
anyway.
Now, the other issue about people maintaining a database of what people purchase, that's actually what I know. I know a whole lot about that.
Right.
And yes, absolutely, businesses are keeping records of what you purchase, and they're saying, here's this customer, and they come to the store this often, and they do this, and they buy these things, and they prefer this, and that's why they send you emails that promote the kinds of things that you are likely to buy and all that. So there's absolutely a database. And the question then becomes, if we were to have a adult and a child internet, and you had to demonstrate that you were an adult, does that necessarily mean that someone would have to have a record pointing all your internet use to you? And that would be the concern.
Right, so you would have to set it up that you get, I don't know, how would you get an ID that is not linked to you personally?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
And that's
like,
what would have to be.
it's like when you go to a festival and you just get a red wristband.
Yeah. So,
Right?
Exactly. So then when
Yeah.
you walk up to the booth, they say, okay, you got the red wristband, you can buy a beer.
Right, but they're not scanning your wristband for
They don't know who you
They don't know
are.
who you are, but they know that you have passed through the gate.
Yes.
It showed them your ID.
Yeah.
So you're saying that there should be a safe and secure way of doing that same thing where
And of
you
course-
show it to you show your ID to this
Yeah.
guy, you get your red wristband, and now you can go on the internet completely anonymously.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I don't know why it has to be that way, but that is anonymous.
You're saying
anonymous on the internet.
technologically we can do something.
Of course they can do it. I mean, these are people who built this incredible worldwide network where anywhere you are in the world, you can access Facebook or you can access, actually. And you're going to say it's too hard for them to come up with it. It doesn't pass the laugh test. Obviously, they can figure out a technology. What you could easily have is some private organization that certifies that this particular user is an adult,
Right.
but doesn't share that information with anybody or doesn't disclose who they are. It just says, yes, just like the wristband sort of thing.
So,
I think that's a good analogy, by the way.
oh, thank you. So, let's think about this. So, it's going to be what's in the adult playground? Porn.
Right. So, unfortunately, we've accepted.
X,
Yes, social media.
all social media.
All social media.
But hold on. There would be no social media where kids could interact with each other to go like, all right, the soccer team coach gives, all right,
Yeah.
we're on this. We're on Play Fun.
Yeah.
And it's going to have a schedule of all the games and all the practices and and the maps of how to get there.
Yeah.
Would that be you know what I'm saying?
Perhaps what you'd have to have is two versions of things. Maybe you'd have to have there's certain social media that children can access.
I see. TikTok adult and TikTok kid.
The Chinese manage it. The Chinese have TikTok.
The TikTok. They run our TikTok, but they don't have our garbage.
Right. Yes. And in China, apparently, when you're on, I don't have TikTok, so I don't know what TikTok's about. Well, according to what I've read, in China, what you see on TikTok is wholesome, encouraging, patriotic, family-friendly stuff.
kids at recital.
Yeah.
Kids doing gymnastics flips.
Doing cool things. So isn't it great that this kid can play the piano this well?
Instead of doing a TikTok challenge, which kills 1 in 10 kids.
So in China, you have, here's the 8-year-old who can play this Bach piece, flawlessly. Yeah. And in America, here's this 8-year-old dressed like a whore that
gyrating around the playground.
That's right. Yeah, that's what we've got going on now. So I was thinking, like, what is the internet? Well, the internet, it's like the public library, because if you want to get some information, right? It's also the red light district. It's also a playground. You watch fun stuff, you play games, you do things like that. It's like the mall. You can buy things. You can go to stores.
Yeah.
It's like the newsstand.
Of course.
You want to get a magazine or something like that. It's a marketplace of ideas where people can discuss things, and that can be done well or not so well. In a way, it's the town square. People discuss political topics.
You're making it sound so very nice. What is there to restrict?
Well, the red light district would be part of that. But it's also like a theme park. It's the post office. It's a movie theater. I mean, it's the internet is so many different things. But it's also some huge amount of traffic on the internet. 35%, I think, is porn.
All right. Now, I don't think... I think it would be simple to get porn providers on board with this. Like, they wouldn't feel the need to sneak around. I mean, don't they? They get it. They're garbage, but they still understand this is for adults. And so, yeah, we're going to be only over here on the... I mean, how would you... decide who goes on where and who's in charge of saying this doesn't belong on adult and this one does?
Yeah, well, so first of all, I don't really care about helping the porn providers feel good about their business. So, I mean, I don't, if they don't like it, I don't care.
No, I mean the other way. That I think they would be self-regulating. I don't think that you would need to we got to keep the porn guys out of the kiddie pool.
So one thing about that is it depends on their business model. Are they ad supported or are they revenue? Do they have subscriptions? Okay.
OnlyFans is.
So if they are only subscription, if they want people to be putting in credit cards, then obviously they want adults. So those people wouldn't necessarily care about losing the kids. If they're ad supported, it might be a revenue hit to them to lose
the traffic
because ads is all about traffic. But I mean, I don't really care if that.
How are the young ladies on OnlyFans? How do they know that they're over 18? Right, so they have some sort of check system right in place.
You'd think so.
You'd
think so. I don't know if they do or don't, but that's a good question. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a part of the problem with this is people will say there's a couple different objections. People will say kids will always find a way around it. Right? Yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, it was relatively reliable that you could find a Playboy magazine underneath that spinny thing down at the playground. Right?
Somebody has lifted a Playboy.
Somebody stole their dad's Playboy.
They don't want to hide it in there under their bed.
Yes, they took it to the playground and they stuck it under the spinny thing down at the playground. So, yes, there was a way around it. Now, because there was a way around it, does that mean that I should be able to buy it at the 7-Eleven?
Yeah, kids can still get alcohol even if there is. Yeah,
so exactly. Therefore, right. So this idea of people will get around it, therefore we have no standards. I mean, that's a stupid idea. We don't apply that anywhere else.
No, and also you have established what the societal standard is. Mm-hmm. And yes, people can and will violate that, but at least we, as a society, we have said this is what we find acceptable and not acceptable.
Exactly.
And yes, you can find your way around it.
There's always a way around it. Now, another objection, you alluded to this earlier with the wristband thing, is adults will object that if they have to demonstrate that they're adults, that somehow that will become an invasion of their privacy, their identity will get known, all that other kind of thing. Yeah. And there's definitely a technological solution to that. It doesn't have to have it. But on the other hand, to some extent, if you go to the library and you want to get a book, you got to give your library card. So I don't know why anonymity has to be such of a virtue for the internet. Like, where else are you completely anonymous?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but your enemies, or not even your detractors, can use it against you, even if it's a perfectly wholesome.
Yeah, and that happened. And that happened with, remember, Blockbuster, when they would go into somebody's Blockbuster record and figure out what movies that they rented, and then they would use that against them. This happened a few times back in the
even
the 90s.
even when Blockbuster didn't have porn, right?
Yeah, but they would use what this person had rented at Blockbuster against political candidates, because they would get a hold of those records. So I do understand the concept of.
Oh, you went on this because you could go on some objectionable site just to see what they're up to.
Yes.
Not because you were a voyeur. You were just like, what is going on with this?
Or you're writing a paper on something, or you're doing some research on something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's say you're doing research on some topic, and you have to go read this sick thing that you're not into that thing. You're just doing research.
But it could be
on
characterized that way.
It can be characterized that way. So I understand the privacy side of it, but I also understand that there are situations where you really do have to identify yourself. If I want to get a book out of the library, I have to show my library card. Right. So there needs to be some technological solution that reconciles those two things in a sensible way. And I think there can be such a thing. You have some private organization that certifies, yes, you're an adult or whatever, but doesn't expose that information. So I think there's a way around it.
Yeah.
So what about, what's going on with Australia? And Australia has decided that they're going to change the law so that the new law sets a minimum age of 16 for opening accounts on social media.
Yeah, well, the COVID experience shows that Australia and New Zealand hate freedom. So I am very suspicious about how this is going to work out. Maybe they got to figure it out, and maybe because
that's an angle I hadn't thought about.
In principle, I like it, and maybe they're leading the way. But they have shown me that they're
not trustworthy.
Suck.
No, I agree.
So,
I hadn't even thought about that, but that's a very good point. They've already demonstrated.
Yeah.
That they're awful when it comes to privacy.
No, they will yank you out of your house and put you in a camp for not getting the shot.
Right. Yeah.
However, let's see. What do you got here? What?
So let's just talk about it in general terms. There's all kinds of things: drinking, smoking, gambling, porn, driving, skydiving, watching R or X-rated movies. I mean, there's so many things where we say that adults can make that choice if they want to because they have a developed prefrontal cortex and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Children cannot make those decisions.
Right. And then even gauging that, you got your PG-13s, and I mean parents are in charge of that, but they're it's not even just a clean line about.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Now let's take another side to it, which is that the social media companies are designed to get you addicted to their material. Apparently, once a kid gets a smartphone, they spend 5 hours a day on these platforms. And that's crazy.
That is crazy. I would, I think it did serious. Never mind.
It did serious damage. I mean, kids aren't dating anymore because they're sitting around chatting on their phones. I mean, think about when we were kids. You didn't have anything to do, so you go out and you hang out with friends, or you
go to the roller rink.
Yeah,
and then then the couples, the lights dim, and this is it, dude. Mm-hmm. Step up and ask one of those chicks to skate around and hold your sweaty hand.
Right, but
do you think that's going on now?
No, because
of course it's not.
Because why would you run the risk of getting rejected by the decently pretty girl over there when you can get this amazing, gorgeous girl on your phone, And
you can stand around with your other dude friends and decide which one is your girlfriend.
Right.
virtually.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I asked my brother who was his girlfriend, and he said Raquel Welch and Bridget Bardot.
70s version of
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still had to go out there and ask the gal.
Yes. You had to show some initiative. Yeah. I remember we were at a wedding reception, and I'm sort of related to a woman who was a Redskinette.
Okay.
And she was at the wedding reception, and I convinced one of the young Crowhills to ask her for a dance.
Right.
Because I thought it was important to.
And she's what, 10 years older or something?
Yeah. But she's a great sport. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But she's a great sport. She's a very nice lady, and so I asked the younger Crowhill to ask her for a dance because I wanted him to develop some confidence.
Please.
So he went out and asked her for a dance. She danced with him, and then she went out to her car and got her Redskinette poster and signed it. Thanks for the dance, James.
Next time I see him, I'm going to say, "Do you remember the time?" Of course he remembers the time.
Of course he remembers.
Jeez.
The time. Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff.
But yeah, you want kids to be out in the real world, interacting with real people, doing real things, learning stuff, not going bloopity bloopity bloop on games or playing with these.
Do
stupid
you
things on
remember
phones.
anybody going to homecoming or the prom stag?
No, I didn't go to either because I was between girlfriends at the time.
Right, but you didn't. But at the
I don't
time,
remember anybody going. No.
But did it occur to you that, like, well, I don't have a girlfriend. This isn't really working out. I'll just go by myself.
No, would have never occurred to me.
Well, yes. Well,
Nowadays, it's the
young pigweed. That was no big deal at all.
That's normal.
Everybody. Yes, lots of people just showed up at homecoming and the prom. That's not good.
No.
I want you to feel excluded. I want you to feel like I gotta
I want
ask
you to have some pressure to go ask somebody to get over yourself.
You don't have to. I mean, I in high school, 3 years I had girlfriends. No. 2 years I had a girlfriend at that time, and 2 years I didn't, and I had a date.
Yeah.
I just talking with the other gals. Hey, is Ellen already going with somebody?
Right.
No?
Exactly.
All
You
right.
find
Well,
somebody.
then. Do you think she'd like to go with me? Because you're like working the back channels. You're not gonna ask her outright if you think you're gonna get rejected. And so then Sally asks Ellen, and Ellen reports back.
Exactly,
She'll say yes if you do. But but yes, everybody understood that you're not going to be boyfriend and girlfriend forever. But it's a night for a date.
It's a night for a date. So here's this guy named Scott Galloway who wrote an article called Age Gating, and Jonathan Haidt wrote the introduction. And I love this quote from him. I'd rather give my 16-year-old a bottle of Jack and weed than Instagram.
Boom.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes. I mean, all I see are like libs of TikTok pointing out the silly things that are on TikTok.
I've never been on TikTok. So
I don't either. But I've seen plenty of it. But I'm only getting it filtered through somebody else. So I don't know what the full exposure of TikTok or Instagram is.
You have to remember that it's designed. They hire the people who work at casinos, who are experts at getting you addicted to things.
Yeah.
And they hire those people to work on their algorithms and everything else to get you addicted to be on TikTok so that you'll spend hours and hours and hours scrolling through videos. Just doesn't seem healthy. But anyway, so it's not only a problem for children, it's also a problem for adults, unfortunately. However, what we've been doing, Jonathan Haidt says, we've been doing the largest uncontrolled experiment humanity has ever performed on its own children.
Yeah, yes. And I see, because my sons are 12 years apart, they missed one missed smartphones until he was out of high school, and the other one got one in middle school, and it shows.
Yeah, I think it's.
It's not even generational.
Yeah, I feel bad about allowing my kids. I waited till later for them to get one, but still, I feel bad about letting them have the thing. I feel bad about having the internet in my house when the kids were young.
All right, so we've got these kind of movements. We also have school systems deciding that cell phones should not be in school.
Yes.
I think that's a
positive development. Yep.
Because, like we were saying about the law itself, like it's not going to stop everything, but at least gives us a general sense. In the same way, one or two parents saying they don't want their kids to have phones in school
doesn't do much.
It does, and it makes you the worst parent.
Exactly.
Right. Your kids hate you because all the other kids are doing. Well, if you can all come together, that's how you build the momentum. And you're like, look, we're not having it. There's no phone at school, and everybody gets it.
And some idiot is going to say, well, kids are going to get around it. Okay, maybe some of them will. When we were in high school, you weren't allowed to have weed in school and booze. And some people got around it, but that was still the rule. And most 100%. People complied with the rule. And okay, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to get everybody, but you should get as many as you can.
And it will set the precedent. And then parents themselves may start rethinking to themselves, you know what? If they're not supposed to be on it all day at school, maybe they don't need to be on it all day at home either. Right. How about, it would inspire these parents who are now at this,
That was one of the most frustrating things for me when I first started getting the internet at home, is trying to find a good way to regulate it.
The one thing that was good was it was like you had to pay for like 150 minutes a month or something like that.
Right, in the early days.
So, in the very early days. Right, when the disc came on the magazine. And,
But the idea that I don't understand why there aren't better parental controls. There are some lame parental controls that you can get, but it's very hard to get good parental controls that really enforce what you want in your house. And I think that's a crime. I think there really ought to be such a thing. So this guy who wrote this article had a really good point about the people who object to these age restrictions. Their arguments boil down to the assertion that these multi-billion-dollar organizations who've assembled vast pools of human capital that wield godlike technology can't figure out how to build effective, efficient, constitutionally compliant age verification systems to protect children. If this sounds like BS, trust your instincts.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I don't know how all this stuff works, but my instincts say
these guys can figure it out.
BS. Yes, it's a crappy argument.
Yeah, they can figure it out. So I say, we need age verification. We need some kind of a system, and maybe Pigweed and Crow Hill can't figure it out exactly, but somebody can.
I think once Musk has purged the government of excessive waste, maybe that's a new project for him.
Maybe
I get bored.
Yeah, because he's a pro-family kind of a guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
all right.
That was good. That it all seems not only doable but necessary.
Absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
If we believe in kids growing up, if we believe in kids not killing themselves because they're depressed because people have been bullying them on social media.
They've been taught some self-hanging challenge on TikTok.
Exactly. Yeah. If we believe them in ever developing the ability to have social skills and date and have girlfriends and get married and that sort of thing.
Babies
are good. Yeah. I think
all
we
right.
absolutely
I
need to
say,
stop this.
all right. Well, cheers to two internets.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crow Hill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.